thank you so much for coming. This is a tradition we started several years ago, and I'm so happy to see it continuing. There's papers on the back, little cards on the back table for you to write questions. People will be going up and down the aisle periodically to collect them and to give you more cards because, as we all know, I'm sorry? Yeah, hold them up when you have a question. And we all know that once it starts, you think of a gazillion questions. So let's get started. We're allowing 5 minutes for each candidate to introduce themselves, 3 minutes for each candidate to answer questions. It will rotate. And I want to thank Sharon Chess for volunteering to be our moderator today. Sharon will be asking and reading off the questions, and Dick Wilcock is our timekeeper. How long have you been the timekeeper? Actually, I'm ashamed to admit, I do remember when Woodward was a dirt road. So our candidates today, we have our incumbent Raylan for mayor, who's running unopposed. We have 2 council seats open, and we have 3 candidates running for council. We have Quinn Ziegler. We have Laura Mikulski, who's an incumbent. And we have Eddie Sabatini, who's... So, has anybody given you questions yet? We need questions. I have a question. Why the hell would you want to be a council member?
Great question.
Okay, yeah. Katie says you can change the order if you want to just...
I don't wear hearing aids, so I heard that.
So we'll start, Sharon. Okay.
Hi. Hi, everybody. So we're going to let our candidates introduce themselves. And let's start with Eddie.
All right. Good morning. My name is Eddie. I want to thank you all for having us. I hope we have some fun and this is informative and you get to know a little bit about us and what we're about. So the reason that I'm running for council is because I'm answering a call from residents who liked how I was advocating for the Kulik Center, and they quickly rallied around our efforts. Now that there's tangible movement toward a community first solution, I want to
Take a breath, talk from your heart.
Thank you. Yes, I know. I scripted too much here. I'm running because I like engaging with the community. I started doing that with the Kulik Community Center. Residents rallied around it, and the work that I did there was deeply rewarding, and I want to continue that on council. The response that we got was overwhelming. Talked with hundreds of residents. We have over 350 signatures on our petition. We made real progress in getting the district and the city to start addressing the community center issue. It's something that we've heard promises on for a long time, and now there is real progress, and I'm excited about that, and I want to collaborate with our amazing city officials, with our city council, with the school district, on what the next step looks like for the community center. But I'm interested in a whole lot more. The Kulik Center really is just a symbol of how I go about doing my work. I like going out into the community and talking with residents. I like doing hard things that people say are impossible. I don't wait to ask for permission. I identify a problem, I outline solutions, and I get to work. So that's would be my commitment to you all if you vote me on council. My campaign is about three main principles: community, affordability, and trust. Community means advocating for you all. I have ideas and opinions on things, and I'm happy to share them, but it's much more important what you all want to do, what the community wants to do. So I'd much rather you all be up here and us asking you guys questions, because we learn a lot more. Oh, thank you. Okay. So I'll wrap it up by saying, I hope I get the chance to demonstrate more about how I go about doing my work. I'll go in hopefully answering some questions into what some of those other things are, specifically, quickly, working on communication, better transparency about city government. I was going over budget items. These are three different budget documents. All of them say different things. I want to know what the document of record is. I want to be the person that takes that complicated information and brings it to you simply and clearly and frequently. Thank you.
Laura, would you like to take the floor?
Yeah, 5 minutes, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, Laura Mikulski, City Council. I want to take you all back to 2019 for a moment, which may have been the first time any of you met me or heard of me, unless you were unfortunate enough to have a rat issue in your yard. Back in 2019, because of the years leading up to that moment, I was desperately seeking a council member who would listen to me about my concerns and who wouldn't pander or brush me away when I raised my hand with a problem. Before I decided to run, I started raising my hand about the looming dread I had around the end of the 10-year Headley override that we passed back in 2015, about my concerns that we were prioritizing developers' interests over those of our community members, and about what I saw as very real disinvestment in the Coolick Community Center. I was looking for a leader who would engage with me, talk with me, and most importantly, listen to me. I was looking for a leader who would proactively communicate, who wouldn't get defensive and shut down disagreement, and who would do their best to make sure that I knew about things that were happening in our local government before they happened. I was looking for somebody who truly had the heart of a public servant and the intestinal fortitude to have the tough conversations and put in the work to represent me. I was looking for a politician who wouldn't disappear and stop responding once the election was over. And when I didn't find it, I decided to become it. I ran in 2019 as a nobody. I had nicknames like the Rat Lady and the Chicken Lady. My only municipal experience was on the Beautification Commission. I announced my run and was told it wasn't my time, it wasn't my turn, and that I needed to serve on more commissions before even considering a council run. But I ran and I won, not because of my municipal experience, which was pretty thin, but because there was a need in the community that I was fulfilling. I won because leading with integrity and genuinely caring about how the choices you make impact people in real life rather than just on paper resonated with our voters. It also didn't hurt that I visited about 500 homes that year, helping with rat issues. If nothing else, people knew I showed up when called, which is more than you can say for a lot of politicians. That leads us to now, 2025, with me back here ahead of a vote. I still have nicknames like the Rat Lady and the Chicken Lady. My daughter likes to call me the backup mayor due to holding the title of Mayor Pro Tem. I still have a deep dread inside me around our latest 10-year Headley override, because now I understand the nuance of how rising costs keep pace with city budgets, and we're still down $2 million annually due to Lansing whacking us with the short end of the statutory revenue sharing stick. I still have concerns that without strong voices at the table, developers will walk all over us, probably in shoes that we can't afford to buy on 9 Mile. And the Coolick, I told my husband last night, my biggest regret was that I wasn't able to voice my dissent over divesting from it. But my biggest hope, hopefully this year, is that I'm able to right that wrong and steer us towards reopening the space. I am still the leader who will engage with you, no matter the topic. I will actively listen. I will never shut down earnest disagreement or get defensive. I will still communicate as proactively as I can, making sure that you know about important meetings. I will continue to publish my annual update for residents, letting you know what I've done and what's on the horizon. I will still publish my voting record. What I want you to take away is that I have the heart of a public servant. I commit to being just as engaged post-election as I am during it. Public service isn't about pedigree or political endorsements. It is about showing up, listening, and fighting for your neighbors. It's measured by whether your community knows that you've got their back. Everything else in campaign season is just marketing. I hope when you look back at my record of leading with integrity, fiscal prudence, transparency, and accountability, you'll believe me when I say I want to earn your vote in November, but continue earning your trust the next 4 years. Thank you.
Gwen, you're up.
All right, thank you. So my name is Quinn Ziegler. I am running for City Council. And first, I want to thank the Ferndale seniors for having us here today. I want to thank all of you for coming and for asking what I know are going to be such great questions. And thank you also to the city for letting us use this amazing space. So caring for our community is an act of love. And I look around this afternoon and I see so many of you out there who are giving back, right? You're serving on the boards and commissions. You are supporting our local nonprofits. And these acts of service are how we care for each other and the place that we call home. So when growing up, my family, we moved around a lot. And if you've moved around a lot too, you know that it's really hard when you get someplace to make new friends and build new relationships. So for me, public service or giving back in some sort of way was how I got connected. So over the past 6 years, I have served on several boards and commissions, including the Environmental Sustainability, the Facilities Task Force, and the Finance Review Committee. And that work on these complicated topics has given me a strong understanding of how our budget ties directly to the services that we rely on and how important it is to balance today's needs with long-term planning. These experiences have also opened my eyes to how complex city government can be, but also the tools that we have to care for our community together. I have gained real insight into Ferndale's financial situation and the challenges that we face in keeping our core services strong, growing our successful programs, and cutting unnecessary expenses. I'm committed to making our government operations more transparent so that we can all become more informed and engaged neighbors. My top priorities are addressing the poor concerns in our public safety buildings. Too long, we have disinvested from those buildings. We've deferred maintenance over and over. We need to meet resident desires for a community center. We want a place to gather together. We want programming for our seniors and for our kids. And for those of us in the middle, right, I want to go to the book clubs and the exercise groups and whatever programming is available where I can meet new people and make new friends. We also have to make sure that we're doing the basics well, right? And that means things like code enforcement, that means ongoing fiscal responsibility, and making sure that somebody answers the phone when you call City Hall. I want to continue investing my time and taking what I have learned as a volunteer and working on these complex issues and put it to work for City Council. With your support, I will bring my dedication, my financial know-how, and my collaborative approach to build a more vibrant, inclusive, and sustainable community and a place that we can be proud to call home.
And Mayor, you want to bring this to the full circle and
All right.
we can start opening it up for questions.
Well, good morning to all of you, and thank you, seniors, for always hosting an informative and well-needed and necessary forum. I've been a part of forums like this probably over the last 13 years, and you never disappoint. So, and thank you to the city for always being the gracious host. My name is Raylon Leaks-May, and I have had the honor and privilege of serving as your mayor in this vibrant city that we call Ferndale. For those of you who do not know me, I am the mother of 5 beautiful children, I have been a resident in this community for over 30 decades. All my children have been raised here, and I'm sorry?
You said 30 decades.
3, sorry. All right.
You started looking real closely at you, Ray.
I have 13 years experience in local government, 3 years on the Ferndale Public Schools Board of Education, 8 years on the Ferndale City Council, and 1.5 years as your mayor. I have served and continue to serve on various boards, commissions, and task force, even outside of my role here as mayor. My profession by day is I'm a long-term care ombudsman, AKA a residents' rights advocate, meaning I go into nursing homes, licensed nursing homes daily, and assisted livings and adult foster cares and advocate for the rights of those residents. And you'd be surprised the rights that I have to advocate for. It's no wonder that I've championed efforts for affordable and accessible housing, advocated for equity and inclusion, have a vision of a multi-generational vision when it comes to making decisions on council. I just got lost. I have a history of being fair, impartial, and thoughtful. And just the tough decisions that I bring before council, I take that very seriously. I believe that experience does matter, and I hope that I've demonstrated to you over the years my commitment and vision for Ferndale, and I look forward to your questions and for you sharing with your concerns and what you love about Ferndale, what you don't like, and how I can be able to be any assistance to you as we move forward. So I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Your voice has always mattered to me, and I hope that moving forward, I can continue to serve as your mayor and continue to listen to you and continue to protect the rights and needs that you have come to be dependent on and reasons why you've grown to love this community. Let's move forward.
All right. So the questions that, what?
Eddie, I want to apologize. I cut you 2 minutes short.
I knew it.
All right.
Mix up in what I was originally. Everybody up there was told.
Oh, okay.
So if you
Yeah.
would like to, finish on the 2 minutes.
No, yeah, of course, yeah. I got a few other things to say. Now?
Yes, now.
All right. All right. So the three main policy things that have been driving this campaign and what I want to bring to you as a city councilor were community, affordability, and trust. Community means protecting and advocating for the rights of residents and local businesses. I'm already doing that now in several different ways. A few of those include protecting our green spaces and the Kulik Center through the Kulik Coalition. I think that's pretty well documented. People call me the Kulik guy. Spearheading a new health and wellness commission. I love our commissions. I think it's a great way to engage in the community. I want to contribute to that with prioritizing mental and physical health for our residents, getting them resources that they need and deserve. Supporting and advocating for our businesses, for our business districts on Livernois, Hilton, and Marshall, so they can be as vibrant as our 9 Mile and Woodward downtown. As a side note, check out the Harvest Festival on Livernois on September 27th. Those businesses are working hard to bring something very special to us, and they actually succeeded in blocking off Livernois, which I think is pretty impressive. Affordability. I believe it's the duty of our city council people to seek out and exhaust every form of revenue and funding that does not burden you as a resident and taxpayer. Residents of Ferndale are understandably tax weary. I know that I am. Alternative revenue sources exist and are waiting for those bold enough to go and get after them. I made a lot of noise about Kulik. I'll make a lot of noise in Lansing, getting that money that Laura said is missing from us. I think we are, since 2020, we're down $8 million that they owe us, or that they should have given us. I'm doing that through a ballot initiative called Invest in My Kids. It's aimed at holding the wealthiest and the corporations accountable, giving us our fair share. That money will go directly to the public schools, won't affect our income taxes. And then finally, trust. Without trust, all these other things don't matter. I believe we can strengthen the bond between our local government and our residents with accountability and straightforward communication. I'm committed to demystifying the government process with open, plain language and government's only as complicated as we allow it to be. I like what Einstein believed. He said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. I hope I get the chance to demonstrate more of these values as we talk today. Thank you.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the order, and we'll start with Laura. Raylon, because you're unopposed incumbent, after each question, I'm going to call on you last because you're going to have the most information in regards to some of these questions that you may be able to answer, okay? All right, so the questions are pretty good. The questions are different, and they're a lot different than what I was expecting. So here we go with the first one. We have been subject to the vanity projects of narcissists for 15 years. Meanwhile, basic maintenance has fallen by the wayside. Will you commit to proper maintenance and rehab of buildings? And Laura, you want to start with that, please?
Thank you. I know that that's Evelyn. I recognize your language. Yes. So the short answer here is, you know, everybody thinks that they're making the right choice when they make their choices, right? So projects come to us, initiatives come to us, they come to us from residents, they come to us from city staff, and they come to us from the rest of council. And we make the choices as a council body that we think are right and that reflect the desires, the wants, and the needs of our residents. That said, I've had conversations with Evelyn and with a lot of you that there are some that I disagreed on. My voting record shows that. And I will say that balancing a city budget is a lot like going on a diet. Everybody wants results. Nobody wants to give up the dessert. My job is to make sure that we trim the fat, not the essentials, and that we can afford the things that keep Ferndale running. It is disgusting and disappointing that we have not invested in our infrastructure, that we have done things like mural projects, which I love. They're beautiful, they're great, and they become a fixture and a draw to our city. There's something that we can pat ourselves on the back about. But infrastructure isn't sexy, and it always falls by the wayside. It is our job, and it is going to be our focus, and it is going to continue being our focus to invest in those things that are critical so that we can actually get it done, so we're not coming back to you with a laundry list of a facilities plan and a finance task force saying, we didn't do it for another 10 years. Now we really got to do it, and it's really going to be expensive. So yes, that is my commitment to you all, and I'm happy to make it.
Quinn, do you need to have that question reread?
No, thank you. So one of the jobs that I have previously held was in the maintenance department of a regional bank. So I did things like wrote a multi-million-dollar budget every single year. I handled the ongoing maintenance for dozens of bank locations, including bank headquarters. So I am very familiar with the kinds of needs that commercial buildings have and the kind of effort and energy that it goes into maintaining those buildings long term. So I am absolutely committed to the preventative maintenance that needs to go into those buildings. I am also committed to looking at our current buildings and making the investments in those buildings that make sense. So I was on the facilities task force a couple of years ago, and we had the opportunity to tour our city-owned buildings and look at what those needs are in addition to the facilities condition assessment. And some of you here in the room were on that committee with me. It's been very disheartening to see that there was such what we call deferred maintenance, right? We're not going to do it now, but we'll do it later. Later has come home to roost. Later is now. Later is urgent. We have to do it, and we have to do it now. So I am committed to investing in these buildings to make sure that they are meeting our needs today, and they are also meeting our long-term needs.
Eddie, you're up.
Would you mind repeating the question for me, please, Sharon?
Not at all.
Thank you.
Laura got a kick out of it, so.
Sure did.
We have been subject to the vanity projects of narcissists for 15 years. Meanwhile, basic maintenance has fallen by the wayside. Will you commit to proper maintenance and rehab of buildings?
Yes. So I think first, I'm not a narcissist. I like to think that I'm an empathetic, an empathetic leader who's not driven by ego. So I don't really have an agenda other than caring for our community, and that means caring for our facilities. I bring it back to Kulik. Watching that building deteriorate over a better part of a decade was very disheartening. Demolition by neglect, as I like to call it, that's got to stop. And I think getting that property back into the city's hands is the first step in changing that culture, where we're caring and maintaining for the things that we own in a way that is future looking, right? These are decisions that we're making that are going to impact generations beyond us. So we need to set them up in the best position possible. And that means finding places where we can make cuts. Like, there's a baseline amount of money that it costs to run a city, right? You can't eliminate some things. A lot of things are federally state mandated, right? But there's some non-essentials that we need to take a hard look at and ask if we can live without. I know what it's like to run and live on a tight budget. We're a family of 4 currently living on a single income. It's not ideal, but it's the reality. And I know that sometimes when you're on a fixed income, you need to cut non-essentials, and sometimes you need to cut back on, if not eliminate, some essentials. So I want to take a look at that. I think no department is immune to being examined. And I'm willing to do that research and then communicate it with you so that you have some input on where we can make some changes in order to build that culture that I think we all want, where we're responsible and caring for what we have. We're not taking things for granted. We're not spending on extravagant things that we can't afford. I mean, this is Ferndale, right? Like, we don't need a $30 million facility. We need something modest that we can start using and that is inclusive to everybody. And I think that starts with maintenance and repair. So let's take a hard look at that and let's commit to it.
Raylon, it's your turn, and just for a moment, would you please explain what Eddie referenced in regards that we do not own the property at the Kulik Center?
Well, we don't own the property because it belongs to the schools. What we did do is that we rented the property with the agreement to maintain it over years, long before I was actually on council, but I came in knowing of that agreement. The Kulik Center has been a staple in my family for many years. I'm a mother of 5, as I told you, and we utilized it for many, many years. And it's going to be great to have it back. And I'm glad that those conversations are being had. Regarding rehabbing of the maintenance and rehabbing of buildings, I want you to know that I am definitely committed to our infrastructure. It's something very important. In fact, over this past year, I actually orchestrated a meetup and tour with our state representative, State Senator Mallory McMorrow, and our state representative, our city manager, our state senators' people, and we took a tour of the fire station. And because I thought it firsthand that they would need to be able to look and see what we're dealing with, what our female firefighters are dealing with, and to be able to show that we really want to commit to the infrastructure and the facilities in our community, that they last a long time and we're able to attract new talent and keep the people who work so hard for us day to day healthy and safe in their environment, in their work environment. Over the past year, I've not been able to do anything like that because, my first year as mayor was very busy. It was a learning curve. But I feel much more comfortable now being able to reach out to our representatives, our other local elected officials, to collaborate with members of council, to be able to come up with ideas and a focus and a reset as to what we consider important. And infrastructure and maintenance is definitely at the top of that list. So yes, I am committed to that, and I will continue to be committed to that.
Okay, Quinn. The Ferndale seniors, who are your hosts today, have, what is this? The Ferndale seniors here and this forum was advertised in the Facebook forums. How do we engage more citizens to become involved, pay attention to issues, and volunteer for commissions?
Absolutely. I've talked to a lot of folks lately who say, I'm not on Facebook anymore, right? Facebook is just, it's a lot of people all yelling at the same time. It is people who are saying that they've stopped or perhaps are not online at all. So we need to continue to engage with those folks. So for folks who are online but are not on Facebook or social media, we can look at things like e-newsletters, right? We have the printed newsletter. Maybe we look at an e-newsletter so that you're getting information faster, you're getting more information in a timely manner. We also need to just do additional engagement as people who participate in those organizations ourselves. We need to be constantly getting the word out. Folks who are on council need to be doing their part to do outreach, to nurture folks, to get involved. I have certainly told a lot of people at doors over the last couple of days, hey, you're interested in Parks and Rec? There's an opening on the Parks and Rec Commission right now. You can apply. So letting people know, oh, there's an opportunity. I spoke to someone the other day. They had been in Ferndale for about 30 years, and they did not even know that resident commissions existed. So we need to be continually talking to folks about that and doing some really targeted outreach to let folks know as well.
Yeah, I need the question, please. I'm a daydreamer.
Ferndale seniors are here, and this forum was advertised in the Facebook forums.
Oh, yeah.
How do we engage more citizens to become involved, pay attention to issues, and volunteer for commissions?
Okay, yeah, that's great. Communication builds trust, right? Needs to happen often, needs to happen in plain language, needs to be accessible and inclusive to all people. I think social media technology can be a great tool, so I hope that you guys keep shouting online at us. Do our best to answer it and put information out there because it's one of the tools that we have at our disposal. I like the idea of an e-letter. I like the idea of doing our mailer letter more often, more cheaply, but more often. Maybe a calendar of events. I think there's other tech tools that we have at our disposal, like sending out text message blasts that you can opt out of or opt into that gives you updates on city happenings. I just want to come out and talk with you all more. Like, I'm not going to stop bugging you after the campaign's over. I'm going to knock on your door and ask you about what's the next thing after Kulik we want to talk about. I'll come to the senior group meetings and we have to meet people where they're at. And I'm committed to do that. I think, and that's in a number of different ways. So, I want to commit to having some town halls. I think that would flip this dynamic a lot for the better, right? I get to ask you all questions and give you some of my thoughts on it. Office hours. I'm going to have office hours. I'm going to do them virtually and in person. I don't know what the cadence is going to be like, but everyone's going to be welcome to come and give me an idea, hopes, concerns for Ferndale. I think that's going to be a really cool tool to use. Commissions. I love the commissions. I think that it's a great way for the community to be civically engaged. I think there's a lot of ways that the community can be civically engaged, and we should be encouraging all of those, right? There's different ways to learn about the city and help the city move forward in a way that we want it to, right? I want to start a commission. I'm looking at piloting the Health and Wellness Commission. It's something that is near and dear to my heart, mental and physical health. It impacts me and my family. And so I would like to bring that one out to the community, and in that process, informing you about the other ones that are available to us. But I think it comes down to proactive and consistent communication, right? Like, we can't wait for you all to come to us. We've got to go to you. And I love doing that. Finally, I think it would help to distill down a lot of this information. It's very overwhelming, and people want to know about budgets. They want to know about finance. And I've got 5 documents up here, and there was more that I didn't print, that were buried on a website. They were difficult for me to read, and it took me a while to break it down. So I want to commit to doing distilled versions of all of these things. 1-pagers that you can look at when you're going to the polling booth and understand the millage increase in a very simple way that you don't have to read a 17-page document for. You don't have to hunt for it. We'll bring it to you. All right.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Laura?
Sharon, could you read the question again? I just like hearing you talk.
The seniors here in this forum was advertised in the Facebook forums. How do we engage more citizens to become involved, pay attention to issues, and volunteer for commissions?
All right. So I am one of those folks that advertised it within the Facebook forums, and it's near and dear to my heart. I will absolutely cop to the fact that I think social media has become more fractured. Folks are all over the place, as Quinn alluded to earlier. People go where they feel comfortable getting information. People go where they feel comfortable engaging. Where I think we can make improvements to get people more engaged and to get information into their hands more readily is we can go where it's most convenient for them. We can go straight to their home. And what I mean by that is we have a very unique opportunity in the fact that, you know, historically we've been putting out these newsletters to individual homes. They're glossy, they're beautiful, they're a booklet. Comes out on a quarterly basis. On a quarterly basis, you look at it once. I don't know if you're keeping them. I don't know if you're referencing them. But what I do know is when senior forums and certain events come up, getting timely information into people's hands a little bit more regularly is going to be helpful. What I have in front of me here, which it looks god-awful, but this is from Warren. This is where my parents' home was. And I'll tell you, this comes out every single month. It comes out in their water statement. And I know more about what's happening in Warren than I do in Ferndale. It is very telling that I can look at a 1-sheet page of information that is just tightened and compressed and put onto a piece of paper and learn about any sort of upcoming event, who I need to contact, what the important dates are, what the important meetings are. That's one method. We have other methods at our disposal. There are things like push notifications. If you ever signed up for the notification of snow plowing on your street, so emergency movement of your car off the street so the snow plows can get through, that's a database that we have access to. We have the ability to push a notification out to people who have subscribed. We can use it. Why aren't we using it? I know that that's a slight deviation from the way that we've done communication in the past, but if we were able to text people that were interested in being engaged with opportunities to engage with us and to give them communication, again, that's going to come straight to them. It's not a huge cost increase. It's not some new program. It's using the resources that we already have. I think that could be a vast improvement. Thank you.
Oh, Raylon, you want to circle around that question? Do you remember it?
You know what, why don't you say it one more time?
Hey, aren't you a part of the senior group?
I am now, actually.
Seniors here in this forum was advertised in the Facebook forums. How do we engage more citizens to become involved, pay attention to issues, and volunteer for commissions?
Well, I will first tell you, we all know that this community is very small. You can't go anywhere without running into someone somewhere. Trust me, I know. As your mayor, I've had the privilege of being able to appoint many community members to various boards and commissions over the last year and a half, and I've served on boards and commissions myself as a council liaison prior to my being mayor. Yes, the technology does help. Reaching out to individuals via technology is helpful. And I know that it is helpful because a lot of you are able to reach out to me with whatever it is, whether it be with my job, my day job, or issues that you have in the city. You know how to find me. I get them via text, I get them via email, I get them via Facebook Messenger, you name it. But one thing that I have really grown comfortable with, and I think is always going to be my way, is not only just social media or virtually. I like for you to call me. I like for you to call me, and let's meet up face to face. Go out to lunch or come to your home. This is what I've done, and I think that's most effective. So there are various ways to meet with individuals, various ways to connect with individuals. But I guess I'm old school. I like the one-on-one. Call me, talk to me, email me. Let's meet up and let's talk about what commissions you're interested in. I can share with you what commissions are available. And I just want to be accessible to you. I will tell you that I know for a fact that our boards and commissions are actually gateways to individuals serving in local government. I believe that, which is why I take it very seriously. They've also led to employment within the city. So lots of opportunities, and I hope to be able to share those opportunities with you, and I hope to see more faces on our boards and commissions. Just me by example, I serve on commissions here at the city level. I serve on commissions at the Michigan Municipal League, and also recently been reached out by Oakland County to serve on their SAVES task force. If you don't know what SAVE means, it means serving adults who are vulnerable and are elderly. And the purpose of it is to provide education and prevention for abuse and exploitation, something that community members such as yourself have reached out to me that you're experiencing as well. So in my profession, I like to be able to bring what I've learned and what I know and protect our seniors in this community. I'm passionate about it. I always will be. But not just seniors, anyone who wants to serve on our boards and commissions. So you can always reach out to me, and I'm going to give my phone number out because most people know how to reach me by that way anyway, 248-953-3525. Now that is the number that I give to everyone, and I don't mind you calling me and asking me about anything of concern, and if you want to serve, I'm open to you and serving for you.
Okay, candidates. I've been asked if we can take a 5-minute break. And then, because we have so many questions, and they're very, very good questions, I'm wondering if you can commit to 2.5 minutes instead of 3 minutes so we can, 2 minutes? Okay. So if you think that you can so what you want to do is stay concise with your answers. Don't reiterate the things we already know about you. Stay really focused on that. So let's take a 5-minute break.
Are you guys freezing?
I'm always cold.
Sitting over here doing this each and every time I'm not talking.
And that's what I told Laura, and I thought, and Quinn and everybody else. I have to kind of
No, bad at pictures.
and they're running out. The people wrote so light.
Awkward do I look?
Yeah,
All right.
this one.
Well, she's just clarifying on some of the questions.
Oh, no.
Right? Right?
It's not hard. I was never.
isn't thorough enough or understandable enough, then Mayor, and I'm sorry because I know you so personally, I want to keep saying Raylan, but our mayor will then step in. This will save time, but we are going to limit our questions and answers to 2 minutes. Okay? All right. You ready? All right, here we go. Question number 3, and there's quite a few questions. How many Airbnbs are there in Ferndale? What action should be taken to control how many we have? And let's start, Laura.
Okay. So first, I don't know. I have no idea how many Airbnbs, or we call them within municipal government short-term rentals. I don't know how many we have. What I do know is that we enacted a short-term rental policy, so an ordinance, that basically tries to limit how many short-term rentals we have. Where it gets complicated for a local government is the fact that we have issues at the state level that are contradicting what we can do at the local level. Basically, what we're trying to do in our city is make sure that you have good neighbors, right? Nobody wants to live next to something that is a revolving door of obnoxious people having parties, not taking care of a property, and really not being a true community member. So that's how we try to regulate it. We have yet to see if we will be able to fully regulate it the way that we anticipate that we should, again, because of some of the challenges that we're facing at the state level.
Okay, and Quinn?
Yeah. So short-term rentals are very tricky, right? They're causing issues for neighbors, and they're actually taking housing off the market, causing rental increases for houses that are available. As was mentioned, we can't outlaw them. State law doesn't allow it, but we can try to regulate it. We have the ordinance, but it is hard to enforce, in part because it relies on people being honest and registering their rental property. We do have limited capacity for code enforcement. So code enforcement investigating these sorts of things, we could help that by hiring another code enforcement officer. So that would definitely benefit both this issue and other issues. We could try looking up the rentals on Airbnb and those other sites to figure out where they are, but that requires staff time and somebody sitting down and figuring out how to do it. One thing that we can do is continue to advocate to our state legislators to better regulate short-term housing at the state level. And advocacy and partnerships are going to be so important on this. We have a better voice when we speak with lots of others, so working with other communities. I've already started building some of those relationships. At Pleasant Ridge, for example, they're working on their own short-term housing ordinance, so they can learn from us, and there's probably some folks out there that we can learn from them as well.
Raylan, is there anything else that we need to know?
I will tell you that I think you've pretty much heard it, but we do have those protections in place. As far as short-term rentals, I think that they can be a good thing for the community. I like to look at them as try before you buy. You're able to experience our community. But again, there are protections in place. We can only have so many. That number, I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Just pretty much what you've heard so far, protections are in place. An additional code enforcement officer would be wonderful, but we have to be fiscally responsible and we'll have to figure that out in terms of our budget. But you've heard it so far and
Okay, thank you very much.
we're working on it. Was that short enough?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
Sharon, hey, you forgot about me.
Eddie. Sorry, Eddie.
All right, that's all right.
Yes. So do you need the
I thought I was more
question?
memorable. Yeah, let's hear the question one more time. No, I know it. I've been talking to a lot of the residents about this. If you talk to folks on the east side, they'll say there's too many. As far as how many there are, there's between 92 and 140. But the problem with some of these is that they're not advertised. Like they're not on the apps, so they're tough to count them, right? Which is not legal. Excuse me. Not legal. So we need to take a look at that. Ultimately, I think it comes down to code enforcement. We should probably get stricter on that. You know, I'd like to focus on providing our holding the developers like Iron Ridge and absentee landlords and Airbnb rental operators more accountable through code enforcement than our neighbors, right? We've got to go to the state. We have to advocate for changing those policies. If you all are saying that there's too many and it's disrupting your experience living in Ferndale, then we need to take a look at that and have those difficult conversations with our reps in Lansing. It might be a hard thing, but I certainly don't want to let some giant tech company that only cares about profits tell us how we want Ferndale to be. That's absurd. So I have no problem going to Lansing and having those difficult conversations with them, advocating for you all until you are feeling welcome, safe, and comfortable in your homes.
Thank you. And Eddie, now it's your turn to go first.
Thanks for remembering me.
Okay, this comes from the other side of the tracks. Pollution is a problem in our tree city. Every morning I smell the chemicals that discharge from Gage. The exhaust from the trucks lined up along Wanda only adds to this. Why is this blatant defection not addressed in our beautiful Ferndale? What is wrong here?
So blight is a big issue that a lot of you all have talked to me about through canvassing. And I think it really requires resources, right? I think we have 2 code enforcers serving the entire city. That's not enough. We've got to find that money from somewhere, and we've got to hold those business owners accountable. Like I mentioned, I'd much rather focus on holding developers, large corporations accountable than being punitive towards our residents. I think we should also take a look at the organizational chart. What is that chain of command, that reporting structure, including the See It Click Fix app, to ensure that we're operating as efficiently as possible there. Because sometimes it's tough to get these concerns to city council so that they can be addressed with code enforcement, or with, if it's a company like the train, the CN, we need to go to the state and have this advocate for the state, likely to advocate to the federal government. So it's about putting pressure on the decision makers, and I want to help you do that. I think we also need to look at clearing up some of the vague ordinance language. I think there's some things there that make it difficult to enforce certain issues. And I think if we make that language clearer, we'll be able to hold the polluters accountable. And then finally, there's some sustainability and environmental things that we could take a look at on the local level to do our part, being green and responsible with our environment, starting with, not knocking down a community center that we don't need to, and engaging in unnecessary development. And looking at other energy sources, solar, maybe for our lights outside. But it all comes down to cost. What programs do we want to implement, and can we do so without cutting budget from other essential areas?
Okay, and I just want to bring all of your attention to our timetable here.
Yes.
Okay, so wrap it up when you see that 30-second and put your 15-second closing. Soon to task. Okay.
Could you read it one more time, Sharon?
Yes, I will. And this all has to do with the pollution over at Wanda, and on that side of the tracks. Okay, and it's been an ongoing concern for the residents over here that are raising families. Pollution is a problem in our tree city. Every morning I smell the chemicals discharged from Gage. The exhaust from the trucks lined up on Wanda only adds to this. Why is this blatant defecation not addressed in our beautiful Ferndale? What is wrong here?
So a couple things. First of all, that area of town is industrial. And where there is industrial, there is going to be a different kind of vehicle, a different kind of work, and that sometimes can make it very uncomfortable for the folks that are living in proximity to it. If you remember, God, I'm sure nobody remembers this back from 2019, but I talked at length about PFAS and some of the issues that we have around town that are invisible issues. They're issues that are documented on paper, but they're invisible issues. Things like the soil contamination from the brownfield site over at the old Hayes Lemmers, which is now the Pinecrest Forest and Detroit Axle, the PFAS leakage at the McDermott site in Ferndale over on the east side. Those kinds of things, they live in a repository that we know about, but in local government, we can't ban them. All we can do is try to mitigate the damage that they've done. So soil remediation is something that I love. It's near and dear to me. Anytime that you have lead and some of these other god-awful chemicals in the soil, like we see over at the Pinecrest Forest, like the chromium, the haloacetic acids, things like that, we have an opportunity to potentially help by using brownfield credits to get people to remediate. But again, this is going to be something we have to push to the state and really try to put pressure on folks to help us mitigate the air quality issues around industrial sites as well.
Quinn?
Thank you. So we really need to work with our government officials, including the folks over at Eagle and other governmental agencies that regulate these sorts of industrial uses. Be working with them, having them hold industries accountable to standards, and also working with our legislators to have them on an ongoing way improve those standards. It was once standard to have lead in gasoline and lead in paint. That's no longer allowed. So we can continue to make improvements in that way. We also need to make sure that we're forming those relationships with the business owners themselves, right? Who is running that building? Who is the property owner? And forming that relationship with them saying, hey, you're doing this thing that is negatively impacting our community. Maybe they're a jerk and it won't go anywhere, but maybe they'll be willing to listen and make improvements in the community. Sustainability is something absolutely important to me. We do need to be doing things like remediating contamination where it exists, making sure that we're not doing anything that might negatively impact our air quality as a community, and in fact, improving that air quality. I did also want to point out another issue that hasn't been mentioned, and that is our Southwest Storage Yard. That is an industrial site where there's lots of trucks back and forth. It's a big issue, and it's also right in the middle of a residential neighborhood, and in fact, right on the edge of Royal Oak Township. So not only is it an industrial issue, it is also an equity issue for the people that live around.
Roland, do you have anything to answer to that? Are we invested in the EPA at all, or who else may be involved in these decisions?
So I will tell you
Quickly.
that, yes, we're invested in EPA. They were actually here with us just last year to, with a focus on Ferndale, and we kind of shared everything that we're kind of doing, and we had our Logan Appleby, our environmental and sustainability, I call him director, zero waste manager, who was involved in those. It was a press conference. But with that being said, yes, these are important issues, and yes, I know that blight and contamination and pollution is a problem in this community. I didn't know so much as far as on the east side. I'm just hearing that for the first time. But something that I've been posing to residents is having, I think we need some sort of a town hall or some sort of a public hearing where the community can come out and kind of share their experiences and their concerns in one place. Because actually one of the main complaints that I get via email, et cetera, is blight or is pollution. So that is my goal, and that's something that I want to propose to put forward. I want us all to come together in one space, one place, and talk about it, and let's talk about the issues and how we can move forward with it.
Thank you very much. Okay, you ready for the next question? Question number 4. And Laura, you want to start with this one? With the passage of the millage, will there be any need for city service cuts?
Yeah. Yeah. Short and simple. We knew going into this, even if the largest override, which failed, even if that was going to move forward, we would still have to take a critical eye to our budget. And we would still potentially have to make cuts and reallocate to the things that are priority or just the basics. Instead, clearly, that millage failed. We had to pass something smaller, and we have a 10-year runway to make sure that we set ourselves up for success for the future. So yes, we are going to have to move forward looking at everything, looking at our departments, looking at our services, and looking at how we invest our dollars, whether it's something as granular as when we replace vehicles to much larger things like how do we do capital investments and how do we allocate for our service providers like our police, our fire, and our DPW. So again, short answer is yes. Long answer is a lot of details.
Thank you for that. Quinn?
Yes, and that was very clear with the presentation to City Council when the millages were discussed. Essentially, the city runs out of money at about the time that the millage expires. So we are looking at 10 years before we potentially run out of money. And I don't say that to be doom and gloom. I say that so that we can take a very clear-eyed look at what it takes to get there. So we will need to make service cuts. We will need to be thoughtful about where those cuts are. I am personally a pretty frugal person. I recently replaced my 23-year-old vehicle. So I'm okay with the fact that sometimes we don't get the newest and the best thing. We do need to be very careful about where we cut, right? Because I've already talked about deferred maintenance. I've already talked about what got us into this state with our current facilities. And if we keep deferring maintenance, we will end at this with no money and no buildings, right? So we need to be really thoughtful about what we're approaching, what we're recommending, and what the path forward is. We also need to absolutely continue advocacy with Lansing, with our state representatives, and tell them, you broke this. You passed these laws that hurt Michigan cities. You have to fix this, because it's not just Ferndale, right? It's all of the communities in Michigan are having some sort of similar experience. And so we all need to band together, work with our legislators, and said, you broke it. You need to fix it. We cannot keep kicking the can down the road.
Eddie?
Yeah. So I have in front of me the City of Ferndale, Oakland County, Michigan, report on financial statements with required and other supplementary information, year ended June 30th, 2024. It's a 91-page document, and I tried to distill some highlights for you. It doesn't look like it's all doom and gloom. I think it says here that the city had to pay more principal on its debt than expected, but other departments underspent enough to offset the extra debt. So I think that's a positive. In this document, it shows budgeted amounts for each department, the actual, and then the variance with the final budget. And there's some budgets that there's some departments here rather that overspent, and I think we look at those first. And there's where you can make some cuts. Regarding statutory revenue sharing, the money that we get from Michigan, we are ranked worst of all 50 states in local government investment. That's unacceptable. So like I mentioned earlier, I think we lost on almost $9 million since 2020, and it's just going down each year. So that needs to change, and I think you need to ask yourself, who do you want having those difficult conversations in Lansing for you? I think that my track record speaks for itself in going out in the community, engaging with residents, hearing what is important to you, and not accepting the fact that a situation might be impossible or difficult. I relish those opportunities. Yeah, thanks.
So yes, there will be cuts. You heard that. The Headley, when it passed, was really just to cover our basic services. So that is what we've passed. So there's no real extra in order to do all the things and for the bells and whistles, so to speak. I will tell you though that we will have to have those conversations. It's been mentioned before that we're going to have to reach out to our state representatives and our state officials to actually come up with ideas, find out how we can get some more funding in place. I told you I had that tour with our state representative and state senator, and we are going to have those conversations. We're going to have to be creative because we still have the issue of funding our public facilities. That is an issue, and that's something that needs to be done, and we are going to find a way to do it.
Thank you very much. All right, here comes our next question. Laura, what can the city do?
The full question?
Yeah, wait. Let me see. Land speculations doubling or tripling the prices. Oh, okay. So this is in regards to the development of homes and stuff and the prices of this. What can the city do to thwart land speculators doubling or tripling the prices of our homes?
Oh, man. I love this question. And I'm going to say some controversial things here. First of all, everybody loves to talk about affordability. Nobody loves to talk about the reality of market rate versus subsidized. Subsidize is what the city can do. We can subsidize and force a developer to keep something affordable by way of tax incentives. Market rate is what you get when a developer develops without those subsidies, without us constraining them in some way. And market rate is going to get whatever the developer can get. Now, here's where the controversial part comes in. There are things that people have looked at and other cities have looked at that are interesting mechanisms like anti-speculation tax. It is very controversial. It's been implemented poorly in a couple other cities. But the basic idea is that you limit somebody and you tax them a little bit more. You put it out there and say, hey, look, if you buy this property and you just sit on it for a year and then flip it for $200,000 more so that an average resident can't buy that home and can't invest their own sweat equity and their own money to improve the home and make it a home rather than an investment vehicle, that anti-speculation tax will tax them on that profit. That is one way that we can send a signal to greedy investors that Ferndale's not for sale. It's not an investment tool. It's not here to line your pocket. It's here to be a home.
Great answer. Thank you. Quinn?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a very interesting tool that we would want to take a look at, make sure that we can do it here in Ferndale. Housing is a national issue, right? And we're not necessarily going to solve that today in Ferndale. Michigan in general needs about 100,000 more units of housing to meet the current demand. And there's only so many things that the city can control, right? The city can control things like zoning. The city can control what happens to the land that they own, that the city itself owns, what happens to it, who the city sells it to, and what incentive we might give to make that more affordable. In order to get things like the Shepherd House, which is 100% affordable housing, the city, as you heard, has to provide those incentives. And these incentives basically make up the difference in rent. I also want to address this a little bit more to people who aren't renting, because affordability also happens in your own home, right? And you want to make sure that you can afford to stay in your home. Like I said, in my professional job, I work in the energy efficiency field, as I was telling somebody earlier. So I'm helping folks make energy efficiency improvements in their home. That is lowering their energy bills and allowing them to save a little bit of money. I also encourage you to check and make sure that your property, if it is your primary residence, that you have signed up for the homestead exemption. That will lower the number of mills that you pay on your property taxes. And also, if you are on a fixed income, if you are a low income individual, I did want to point out that the Ferndale does have a property tax exemption. So if you qualify, you may not have to pay property taxes at all. And I would love to talk with you about that.
Eddie?
All right, yeah, this is a big one. So my values, I believe in affordable housing that is sustainable, attainable, accessible, and equitable. And in a small city like Ferndale, where we 4 square miles, I think it's 3.9, we face some challenges from the limited land and rising pressure from gentrification, right? Everybody wants to move downtown. All the developers want to put up their luxury housing there. And so I want to talk about a little bit of the problem with the developer tax break model, right? Which essentially, I think we need to stop playing so nice with them. I think we need to, as Laura mentioned, let them know that Ferndale is not for sale. So affordable, quote unquote, is often misleading when they give us those allocations, right? They're often, these units are built at an 80% area median income, right? So that's still unattainable for most residents, and it's not really equitable or inclusive affordable housing. And then these tax breaks have clocks on them. So in 10 or 20 years, they can revert back to market rate. And is that sustainable affordable housing? I would argue no. So tax breaks, they also drain the city revenue that could otherwise fund schools, parks, and housing directly. So at worst, it accelerates gentrification and looks like a giveaway to the developers, which we should not be doing. Some alternatives that I like and I would like to look at in terms of the feasibility in Michigan and see if our city managers think it's possible is looking at affordable housing trust fund, community land trusts, encouraging adaptive reuse, using city-owned land strategically, partnering with nonprofits and mission-driven developers to build smarter infill, naturally occurring affordable housing by incentivizing landlords who keep rents stable, and explore the shared equity model like co-ops for first-time buyers and support so people priced out by investors have a fair shot.
Okay. I'm going to only address this question to Mayor.
Well, wait a minute, let me say something about this one. Okay. Okay.
Because you didn't perk up right away, I
Okay,
thought,
all
okay.
right. So I will tell you that, yes, I think in the past, we've been a little too accommodating to developers in our tax incentives, but I can tell you for a fact that I know that we have tightened up on that, as well as I champion, and I believe council is with me on this as far as we want developers to bring, if they're going to bring affordable housing to Ferndale or any type of other development, it's something that is good for this community. We have no problem asking the hard questions. We're actually insisting upon more barrier-free housing. As far as I think I heard something about a housing trust fund. Some of these developers are setting up funds that even though the tax incentives will go for maybe 10 or 15 years, and then they may be able to revert to market rate, but some of them have worked out situations where we can have there's a fund in order to provide those homeowners or those individuals with the funds to be able to relocate. So there are things that we have in place, there are conditions that we have in place that we want these developers to adhere to. And I can say so far, those that are proposing affordable housing are listening to our demands, because if it's not what Ferndale wants, they're not going to get any incentive for it.
Thank you. This question I'm going to just present to you because you would know more than anyone. What's being done about the homeless people on 8 Mile?
So I will tell you that through our Andy Roth, our liaison, he has been working a lot with organizations, nonprofits, as far as helping and assisting our homeless population. I will tell you also that the funding and the capability is limited. I mean, almost when a new program comes out, it's such a need for the homeless individuals to receive these wraparound services that the funding is pretty much spent before it even reaches a good population of people who need it. I can tell you also that in my position, I would like to bring the resources that I know of. I have a background of a resource specialist, the resources that I know of, and to try to assist and help individuals with their housing and with the homeless population and getting them connected to services. It's easier said than done. It's very difficult, but I will tell you that the city, the DDA, I've actually had conversations with our court, the Judge Longo, and we've all kind of come together to kind of discuss ways that we can help with the homeless population. And they're not people that need to just be put away, they need services. And we just are really still learning how to navigate those resources and the need. It really comes down to funding. It really comes down to availability. It's something that I eat, sleep, and drink. Sometimes there are sleepless nights, but we're going to keep trying because these are people too, and I want the community to feel safe. I want our businesses to feel safe. I want patrons who come to Ferndale to feel safe, and I get a lot of complaints that a lot of them don't because of the homeless population.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Can we address that one?
No, this was strictly just for the mayor. Okay.
right.
Because we've already got plans in place, so she can speak to where we stand on that.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
So,
we could have, there's other ideas out there too.
right. Okay, so how do you feel, Laura, this question's being directed to you. How do you feel about combining services with another city, maybe Parks and Rec with Hazel Park? The fire, police, this has always been talked about. It's an ongoing conversation. So where does the city sit with combining services?
I love it. Everybody treats their city like an island, and it's not. And every city scraps for what they can have for themselves without really looking at collaboration, regionalization. We've gotten a little bit better about it. Basically, after I was elected in 2019, we started collaborating a little bit more along the 9 Mile corridor. We've had some regional opportunities to look at traffic flow and mobility and accessibility and things like that. But we have some obvious neighbors that we can go to potentially use resources and share resources. They already share resources with us. Pleasant Ridge gets our fire service. Royal Oak Township gets our fire service. We could potentially be working with Hazel Park. You all know that you're using the Hazel Park Community Center as is right now. We could use Hazel Park and develop a partnership to have a combined Parks and Rec. Is it going to be difficult to have that conversation and figure out how to budget for it and how the money flows? You bet. But should we be looking at those opportunities so that we limit how much we have to shoulder alone and find ways to shoulder a burden that is truly regional, sharing the costs across multiple cities? I think we should.
Quinn?
Thank you. So partnering with our neighboring cities and with the county is definitely a tremendous opportunity for savings. You know, we could look at consolidating some services so we're not paying as many administrators and that sort of thing. A great example of this is that Ferndale is currently working with Hazel Park, went out to bid together on some road work. And as a result, due to the economies of scale, both cities got a better rate for that work. So that's a perfect example. Another example that has been before City Council lately is on communication. We don't currently have a communication director. So there's questions of, do we just do without? Do we hire a company to do that for us? But maybe we could talk to Oak Park. Maybe they have a communication director who we could buy 10 hours of their time every week. And now we get the benefit of someone local who understands us a little bit better. And Oak Park is saving a little bit of money and we're getting a good quality service. We do need to be really careful about quality though. For example, as many of you know, animal control was outsourced to the county many years ago. And I've heard from many of you that animal control isn't what it once was. So we need to be thoughtful. We need to be careful as we're investigating those opportunities, but the opportunities are available to us and I am open to them as long as we are able to retain a good quality.
Eddie, your thoughts?
Yeah, I love this one. First, I think we should be charging Pleasant Ridge more for our fire services, but that might be just me. So sharing services can be a smart tool in certain areas like IT systems, payroll, things that can serve the taxpayers' money and avoid duplication. But I would caution us to be a little careful on this one because when it comes to core services like police, fire, EMS, parks and rec, or community centers, residents deserve local accountability for quick response times. There are also real concerns about how sharing impacts union contractors, worker protections, and overall service quality. And if the costs aren't divided fairly, one community can end up paying more than the other. So we want to make sure that tax burden is equitable. Service gaps is another risk. Spreading resources too thin could mean lower response times or reduced access, especially for vulnerable residents. So if you're worried about City Hall answering the phone now, if we start sharing services, you might be waiting longer. And we can't, I want to hit this one hard, we can't balance the budgets on the backs of workers, seniors, or working families. So my position is balance. Got to explore regional partnerships where they clearly add value, but keep essential services rooted in Ferndale with fair labor practices, equitable funding, and strong protections for our residents.
I do have a comment regarding the shared services. I think it's really important to know that recently our CED department actually secured a $380,000 grant to help seniors in the community. These services will help individuals with maintenance as far as their roofing repair, boiler maintenance or replacement, these kinds of things that are now underway and in place. And I think it's important to know that the city does try to collaborate with organizations to assist our seniors or adults with disabilities or anyone else who needs services in this community. But again, we have to seek those grants. We were able to manage to get this one. I've actually signed off personally on these grants and I know that the work's being done. And I'm very proud about that. But yes, partnership is important. I know that Royal Oak Township also received this grant, and we've had conversations with them to find out ways in which how we can collaborate, how we can help the seniors, because even though Royal Oak Township is its own community, it still has the 48220 zip code. And I think that we need to actually be working with them to find out how we can pool our resources together and help our seniors. So these conversations are being had. There's more to be done. Not all the answers will be answered today, but at least we're moving in the right direction as far as these steps.
Thank you very much. 2-minute break. It's probably more of a, okay, hold on just a minute. We have a few more questions to go through. How about if we put a time limit of 1 o'clock? Can you guys tolerate another 30 minutes? Okay, what about you guys? All right, 30 minutes and then it's permanent lunch break. All right, super. Thank you for all of your questions. They're very thoughtful. Do you feel that a mobile app is good to have for communications to our residents? And Quinn, you want to start with that question?
Yeah, so apps are certainly a possibility, right? They exist, they're readily available. If we could find one that works for us, that fulfills all of our needs and isn't too expensive, then sure, an app could be a way forward. Apps can get expensive, especially if we have to develop our own. I know I've talked to people at work about maybe doing an app and they were like, we don't have the budget for that. So they can get expensive to develop. we could potentially buy something from a developer who has already created it. Again, that's an expense. So we need to think about things that are meeting that need, but are in ways that are a little bit less expensive. For example, we already have the text messaging that we use for the snow removal. Why do we need an app if a text message will suffice, right? Why do we need an app if an email provides some more coverage? Do we need an app if it's a block or two that is having an issue with a water outage or a line break? Or is that we need two guys to go around and knock on doors and put notices on doors, hey, your water is out because there's a line break, right? So I think an app is good, an app is fancy, but I think there are other ways to get at what we need that can fulfill that for a little bit less money.
Thank you, Quinn. Eddie, you're up.
Yeah, I think we need to use all the tools at our disposal, meet people where they're at, and that we think about the future generation. They're on their phones. Both of my daughters are on their phones right now, and I think they might like an app. But cost is a real issue. We already have an app that we use, See Click Fix. Also, we got the parking app. Can we combine those in some way to include city service information? I've developed apps before my previous job. They're not cheap. It's not easy. I would not recommend that the city takes on that endeavor. Yeah.
Laura?
I really hate apps. I'm just going to be the person that says it. I don't like them. I use them. I have them. I've got probably about 4 for Ferndale schools right now. But, when we're having this question posed to us, I guess my question back to whoever posed that question is, what do you want it to do? And if it's to communicate to you, can I communicate to you in a more effective way, a more direct way, rather than an app that's going to send you notifications to your phone, which in my mind, I just checked mine when we were on the 2-minute break, and I've got like 50 notifications from a bunch of different apps. I'm going to ignore all of them. You know what I did check? I did check my text messages because something was there and I needed to respond to it. It's Pavlovian. I see it, I respond because it is there front and center. Now, I will say this, if we went the app route, anytime that you are doing anything with technology, you cannot assess it in that moment. You have to think about all the costs and all the maintenance of that technology going forward. I have also built apps, and it's a pain in the butt. It's difficult to maintain. And if somebody really wanted us to explore that, I guess my questions to the rest of council and to the city staff would be, what does this look like 10 years from now? How much do I have to invest in it? How many developers do I have to have involved? And what are the things that we expect it to do? Thanks.
So I too am not a fan of apps. I do use them, and I recognize that not everyone is able to use an app. Maybe you have a different type of phone. Maybe it's not compatible. I don't know. But what I will tell you is that we have to come up with a way that can reach all populations, however we pose to communicate with you, however you need to communicate with us. There needs to be a way. Like, I will tell you that what I did enjoy through Ferndale schools before they did all the apps is that when there was no school or notification or some sort of an emergency or anything, they would just send out a mass phone call. I knew that it was, I would pick up my phone, I would have that message. I knew what was going on. I think that's something that most of us can relate to. But apps, I get a lot of notifications via my email regarding organizations that want to provide us with applications. But again, I'm not a fan of them, and I think sometimes they can be more complicated than not. But ultimately, the decision will come to the community because we engage you. So you tell us what you need, what you want, and we'll navigate it.
Thank you very much. So, Quinn, this is a brand new issue that's just come around our community that residents are concerned about, especially over on the east side. What are your thoughts regarding the L Car Wash that's going up near, or wants to go up near where the Tim Hortons donut shop was?
Yeah. So this car wash, just for folks who are not aware, in that old Tim Hortons, and part of the issue is, if you are familiar with that, there is an alley behind the Tim Hortons, and then it is residential homes. So I have talked to lots of residents over there. There's a lot of folks who came here to Planning Commission, very opposed to it. I also think that it is not the right fit for that particular lot. I do think that it is too close to housing. I do think it'll be too loud. I do think that the environmental issues will affect that property. But I also listened to the residents when I went over there, and I had a conversation with one resident who was in support of it. Now, he and I disagreed, but his point was what we need to do something to get that lot back into productive use so that it is not an eyesore on the community. So I don't think that the car wash is the right fit for that slot, but I would like to see that put back into productive use.
Thank you very much. Addie?
Yeah, the El Car Wash folks were here recently for a planning commission meeting, and that was very inspiring. There was this room was filled. There was a line almost out the door of people who wanted to talk and speak their minds. It was very inspiring. So the reason they were at this planning commission meeting, because they were applying for a special land use permit to put the car wash there. And I want, those are not a guarantee. They have to make their case in front of the planning commission, and the planning commission has to vote. And then once the vote is made, that decision goes on to city council. So what the planning commission did was they followed the letter and the spirit laid out in the master plan. And I think we should continue to do that, use that as a tool as we consider how we want our city to grow. I think it's also important to remember that each neighborhood is different with different needs and challenges, and there is no one-size-fits-all solution, and we need to consult with these residents before decisions are made concerning developments. These decisions have lasting impacts. They're generational decisions that should not be taken lightly or made in isolation without community input. I also think we shouldn't be impressed with a private equity firm that comes in here and uses buzzwords like community and family and need. And they actually mocked our master plan, saying that the idea of creating a walkable city was a lofty goal. I think that's absurd. I think that they need to know that we're not impressed with big money, fancy titles, or large corporations, frankly. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Laura?
I'm just going to echo the sentiments of the people that came before me. One thing I will add is that whenever we're talking about development, there are a couple tools that cities have at their disposal. We have the master land use plan, we have our zoning, and then we have things like that special land use permit that Eddie was talking about just a moment ago. And really seeing the community come out and raise their voice and say, this is something that doesn't fit. Council as a body then has to go back to the table and say, does it fit with all the things that we've outlined? Does it fit with the master land use plan? Does it fit with our zoning? And does it fit for the criteria associated with a special land use? And what we saw at the Planning Commission is that they recommended that we deny it. I support that. I believe that the Planning Commission made the right choice. And again, that is something that is set forth within very specific criteria. And we as a council body, legally, we have to go through that and make sure that we adhere to those criteria and make the right determination. So that's that.
Thank you very much. Quinn?
I went first.
Oh, you did go first. I'm sorry. Braylon, make it quick.
Okay. So I was at that planning commission meeting as well. I heard the community, I heard the developers. I'm not opposed to new developments coming to this community. If it's something that Ferndale needs, I heard the planning commission's recommendation. It's coming to council. The developers will have an opportunity to state their case and council will vote. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you. Talking about commissions, this individual says, 2 years ago, multiple candidates mentioned creating a senior advisor committee or commission. This has not been done in this individual's opinion. And do you see a need for such a commission? And go first. Yes.
Thanks. Thank you. Yes, there's a need. I want to talk a little bit about commissions in general first. They're closed, right? Like you need to be approved or appointed to the commissions. And I think we need to look at changing that for more equity and inclusion and balance. Why can't we all get involved if we want to get involved? Why do we have to be appointed? We need fresh voices. We need new opinions, new ideas. And that would be my recommendation for commissions. Now, for the senior commission, yeah, I don't understand what the holdup is or what stopped that from happening, but I would commit to working on that.
Thank you very much, Laura.
I am so glad that this question came up because I actually watched the 2023 senior candidate forum yesterday, and I saw that my fellow council member, Rolanda Kelly, was talking about the Senior Advisory Commission. And I'm going to tell you, 2024 just evaporated. Period. It evaporated. It went by so quick. Early 2025 has also evaporated. I think a lot of that was because council was so focused on trying to have the hard conversations about infrastructure, about the Headley override, about the millage, that we had to focus there and try to get things moving the way that we need to. But now is the time that we finally got over the final hump with the Headley override that was passed earlier this year. I think it is time to look at having a senior advisory committee. We have you here today. We don't hear from you on a regular basis as a body. We hear from you as individuals. It would be lovely to have a full group of individuals who can help guide our decisions and help answer some of the pressing questions that you might have on an ongoing basis.
I go to those senior meetings and you would be hearing 45 different opinions and too many questions to answer in an afternoon. But go ahead, Quinn.
Yeah, I think that this is a great idea. And in some ways, I think that it already exists because of you. You're here, you're already meeting, right? It might not be an official commission, it might not be, titles, but there's no reason why you can't meet as your groups and make recommendations to city council and bring those to city council. There is no reason why city council can't just come to you now and say, hey, we're thinking about this thing that could affect seniors. We want to get your opinions on it, right? If you want a closed commission where people are actually appointed and there's a limit to the number of people, certainly we can look at that. I'll caveat with that. That's now another meeting for you every month. That's another meeting for the staff person. That's another meeting for a council liaison. And there are costs associated with that. So I think that in the spirit of community, I want to recognize that you guys already exist and you're already doing that work in a lot of important ways.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Go
the
ahead.
senior
Keep it
commission
quick.
is necessary. And just to take it one step forward, I'd like to see some of you seniors throwing your hat in the ring for council. You have a voice. You're part of this community. You have so much wisdom to share and things that we just don't know. So I would just put it out there that I'd like to see more of you come apply for council and want to go through the election process and campaign. I would help you. I value you.
Because our knees can't do it anymore.
I would help you.
Sorry. Okay, here's an interesting question, and we only have 2 more questions to go after this. And so this is in regards to the DIY festival and the timing of when the music ceases during that festival. Apparently, back in the day, it used to end at 9. It's recently been approved to run until 10, and they want to know why the difference, and can it go back to the 9 o'clock timeline? Oh, I'm sorry. I lost track. I'm, part of that senior group. So yes, Laura, I think that would be great. Laura, go ahead.
So yes, DIY was approved to run a little bit later with the music. There were strong arguments from the event organizer that this is something that they thought was going to be beneficial both to the event as well as the vendors that are at the event. It is a well-loved event. People come to the city, residents come out in droves to that event. So we made the decision to at least give it a try. In the past, it had run later. It had gotten scaled back over time, and we heard from a lot of residents that they were comfortable with the idea of having it bump back up by an hour with the caveat of let's see if complaints happen, let's see what happens, and let's see how this plays out. In my mind, I benchmarked against Royal Oak. Royal Oak has Arts, Beats, and Eats, and during Labor Day weekend, which I think is coming up this weekend, that happens, and on Sunday night, as well as on Monday, it runs late. I believe Sunday night it goes until about 11 o'clock. Monday it goes until 9 or 10, I can't remember which. But with that in mind, I thought, let's give it a shot and let's see. This is an iterative process. It's about collaboration. It's about figuring out what the right path is. And if we find out that this isn't the right path, we'll scale it back in the future.
Thank you very much. Quinn?
One of the things that I think that the city can do better is collecting information about the changes that are made. So anytime that there's a change that happens, right, whether that's DIY festival, whether that's bike lanes or something else, what was the condition before the change was made? How many vendors made sales in that last hour or didn't make sales because the music stopped at 9 o'clock, right? And then we ran it to 10 o'clock. How many sales did they make between 9 and 10 o'clock? Did it actually help those vendors? We don't know unless we measure that, unless we count that. How many complaints came in between 9 and 10 o'clock? We don't know unless we count that. So anytime we make a change, we need to be figuring out what the condition was beforehand, figuring out what the condition was after we made the change, and then we adjust, right? Do we need to make an additional change? Do we need to modify something a little bit here and there to make sure that we're dialing it in for the maximum benefit for the community?
Thank you very much. Eddie?
Yeah, I don't have an issue with any of these things mentioned. I think they're good ideas. I think in my mind, it's ultimately a communication issue that we need to look at, right? So how did we go about polling the community about the change in the plan? Did we reach out and poll folks prior to the decision made? How did we do that? How many people did we reach? Did we canvass the immediate area where the stages were going to be and see who would be impacted? We got to take into consideration the day of the week. Are kids going to school the next day? I think that there's an evaluation process that needs to happen, but ultimately it's the solution is communication based, community based.
You're in agreement, Rayla?
I am in agreement, and I will tell you one more thing that was also kind of compromised is that with this new trial of the extra hour, is that the music would be geared towards toned down music. So not, music that's really loud or anything, but music that will just tone down to the point with a hard stop at 10. It's a trial period, and if it doesn't work, I know that we will hear from you.
So you're not going to try and rock the block at 10?
No, in fact, Sharon and I recommended lullabies at the end of the night.
Cool. Okay. What about town hall meetings going into the different quadrants on a regular basis? And Quinn, you want to start with that?
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. So I plan to be holding events in all quadrants of the community, making myself available to talk to residents. I also know that sometimes people don't really want to come to things like coffee with a council member. I would hope that you want to talk to me, but maybe we could have conversations and build community by also doing something that benefits you, right? Like a book swap or something like that. So definitely communication in that way. I plan to continue reaching out to folks. I have a newsletter on my website, so if you want to sign up for that, you will get regular updates on what's happening in the community. And I am planning on bringing those door to door, right? I know that not everybody registers for online things. Not everybody is online. And not everybody is a voter, right? So how many people aren't engaged in the political process because they don't vote, but they still live here? We still need to be communicating with them. And so if they get something at their door, letting them know that some sort of community activity or issue is happening that affects them, I want to bring them into the process as well.
Thank you very much. And Raylan, or Mayor, I'm not going to ask you to expound on that, but I do have a question just specifically for you. There's an upcoming work to be... Oh, Eddie, he
Forgot about me again, yeah.
I apologize for that.
That's all right.
I keep
time.
looking at you because you're so handsome up there, and then I just keep thinking, okay, you've already spoken. Please accept my apologies. Go ahead on that.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes, I could. I can read them, I just can't remember them. What do you think about town hall meetings in the different quadrants of the city?
Yes, pro town hall meetings in the different quadrants of the city. I've already been doing that. My candidate forums are set up as town halls. I don't know if you can tell because I'm keeping it so cool up here, but I am very uncomfortable in this role, and I would much rather be asking you all the questions, and that's essentially what a town hall is, right? Candidates ask the questions, your officials ask the questions, you guys give us your thoughts, and then we can exchange ideas back and forth. So I very much look forward to continuing to do that through this campaign. I will continue to do that when on council, and I would encourage you to also keep an eye out for my office hours. I'll have them virtually and in person. You can always call me. You can email me. You can text me. You can tweet at me, whatever you want. As long as we're communicating, I think that's the key here. And then we have to make sure that all voices are represented, right? All four quadrants of the city. We don't want the east side to feel like they're not being heard. They're not getting the same resources as folks in other quadrants. And that would be a major commitment to me. I think that's, I mentioned my three priorities that are my three main values informing this campaign, and trust is one of those, right? And trust can't happen without effective, equitable communication.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Raylan, this question is directed to you.
Oh, my goodness.
I love you, Sharon. Here, short answer. Ditto.
I'm trying to erase your
Ditto. Everybody's already said it. I feel strongly about town halls. And I will say, caveat, if we're going to have them, let's make sure that we're having them for a reason. Let's not just have meetings to have meetings. Let's make sure that people show up. Let's make sure that we broadcast that it's a meeting and get some topics on the table. So yeah, ditto. Everybody's in agreement.
Okay, I'm going to ask Raylan one last question, only directed at her, and then your closing statements, but a question just came up. So I want you guys to each include the answer to this question in your closing statement. What is your leadership style? What makes you qualified for this role? And Raylan, what's the construction that's supposed to happen on 9 Mile? When is it to happen? What kind of construction is it? And how long is that construction going to last?
The construction on 9 Mile. I guess I need some more specific.
They just said 9 Mile. So do we have any upcoming road construction on 9 Mile, whether it's on the east or west side? Whomever wrote that question, do you have more information? Yes? What is your question?
Yeah, I was told that there was construction all along 9 Mile from now until November. Well, that's what I was asking, if that was true, and if so how long would it impact
Okay. I don't believe that there is a construction project along 9 Mile right now in the works. However,
So nothing by the city then?
not that I'm aware of, but there was another question that you just asked. Was it?
Well, it's all related to that.
Leadership
If it's
style?
happening, where is it happening and how long is it going to be happening for?
Well, construction's all over the city, going on right now, but I don't know if any on 9 Mile at the moment.
Okay. All right. So we're going to wrap this up. They each get how many minutes? Can you shorten your closing statement to 3 minutes? No, 5 minutes?
3 minutes, I think I can do.
3 minutes?
If we're adding the
5 minutes is needed?
well, if we're adding the bit about
Your leadership?
leadership, that's 2 minutes, so 7 minutes.
No, so let's keep it to 5, please, and try and especially. So then that would be 7 minutes. Okay. Do your best to close and to include that information, whether it's 5 or 7 minutes. Be specific. Thank you. Go ahead. Laura, let's start with you. You're in the middle, and I may be able to remember that.
Oh, exciting. All right, let me answer the 2 questions first. My leadership style is direct. I am very forthright. I am very honest, and I will always communicate very directly. As far as qualifications for the role, I gotta tell you, this came up back in 2019, and people said, what are your qualifications? Over and over and over again. How do you fit the qualifications for this role? And it is, you have to be a resident for a certain amount of time, and you have to be over a certain age. Those are simple qualifications. The rest is what you bring to the table. In my opening, I talked about how I first ended up here in 2019. New face, no experience, just determination to listen and represent. What I didn't talk about were the personal details. I'm a mom to an amazing little girl. My partner Ben pushes me to be a better person. And I'm somebody who loves basically every animal that holds eye contact with me for more than a minute. I skipped all the parts about how I work from 8 to 7 most days in my 9 to 5 job, how I own a profitable local business with an incredible general manager, which is why I'm able to be here today. How I also didn't tell you about how many times I've dropped everything to help others, and how I, show up at your home, answer questions about noise ordinances, or even help somebody with a poisoned owl that's dying in their backyard. What you should know and what you should keep front and center is that I'm a problem solver. Professionally, my background has been a patchwork of problem solving, whether it's finance, project management, communications, or strategy. I digest data, I cut through noise, and I make hard decisions every day. On my list of things left to do before I can finally hang up my hat within this role, a tree ordinance. I've been working on it. I want something that's going to protect our tree canopy while still allowing the removal of dangerous trees, identify and cut redundant software and subscriptions, continue the fight for state statutory revenue sharing. Ferndale's down $24 million since 2004, $2 million annually. It's a huge problem. We still need rat-proof trash cans, which I have been fighting for since 2019 and which finally made its way into our strategic priorities for council last year. And finally, the COLIC, which has remained a top priority of mine, in which if we're lucky enough to have a majority on council, which is going to take teamwork and people working together to actually get this done, we might be able to actually reopen it for use. So a few final thoughts. They say if you want a friend in politics, get a dog. I've got 2. So at least somebody still likes me after council meetings, especially if I come home with treats. And honestly, that's not far from the truth. Local politics can be tough. Every decision affects real people right away. You can't make everybody happy, and I don't pretend to try. What I do promise is a no-nonsense approach and the willingness to say no when something doesn't make sense for Ferndale, even if that's the hard path for the council vote. Oscar Wilde once said, "I am not young enough to know everything." And I've found that the moment somebody acts like they do know everything, that's when real problems start. For me, wisdom in public service comes from listening. learning and putting experience into practice. That's how I've approached this role, making the hard choices to cut costs without cutting services and making sure Ferndale remains an inclusive and welcoming city. I hope that I can continue to do that. I hope I can earn your vote and your trust for another 4 years. Thank you.
So my leadership style is very quiet. So when I chaired the Finance Review Committee, there were 10 people on that committee. There were many times where folks came over to my house. We had conversations about what are we learning? What questions do we still have? What are you thinking? And I was very careful not to impose, here's what I'm thinking. I'm the chair. You need to do what I'm doing. You need to do what I want to say. I was very, very careful not to do that. To ask them, what are you thinking? What is a priority for you? What way do you want to go on this? To kind of sense what the group was thinking so that when we came back together, we could move forward together. I do want to thank again the Ferndale seniors for hosting us today. I'm so glad that all of you could be here. And again, thank you to the city for letting us be here in this building. Because it didn't come up today, I did just want to talk about one more work experience. So when I was doing the property management for the bank, it was very much a translatable experience to what we're seeing here in Ferndale now, right? It is a cautionary tale for what I saw in those buildings and bringing them here to translate that experience to our community. My top priorities are our public safety buildings, the Kulik Center, and also sustainability in all of its many facets. There are a lot of times right now where things can feel chaotic. I got to share a little bit today about my volunteer experience and how deeply I've invested my time in this community. Since 2019, I have dedicated hundreds of hours of my own time. You've probably seen me out there. There was one day that I was distributing rain barrels in the pouring down rain. It was a great day for rain barrels. You've seen me giving away seeds at Jingle and Mingle. I've sat down with many of you to explain property tax bills. With some of you, I served side by side, visiting dark mechanical rooms in the basements of our public buildings and asking city staff, can you please explain this complicated thing just one more time for us? And I met some of you last year when I came to the seniors meeting to talk about taxes and what I had learned on the Finance Review Committee. What defines me is that I show up and I keep showing up. I have consistently put in the time to prepare, to listen, and to follow through. My track record should give you confidence that I am going to continue showing up and working hard every single day. I'm bringing a combination of experience, commitment, and perspectives that will serve residents well. And I've taken on some of our most pressing challenges, right? Our budget and our buildings. And I've also built a professional career around money, programs, and facilities, which has given me the skills to ask tough questions and to weigh trade-offs. I'm asking for your vote because I bring relevant experience, a proven work ethic, and a balanced approach that uses our resources carefully and keeps Ferndale moving forward. I ask you to vote for me, Quinn Ziegler, on November 4th or sooner by absentee. Thank you.
All right. So a lot of people have been talking, I've been hearing around that because I haven't served on commissions that I am not qualified. I don't have the experience to do that. I think that's absurd. I think my resume in the community around the Kulik Community Center is pretty strong. There's a lot more work to do on that one, but there's people that told me that that was impossible. There's people up here that told me that was impossible. I relish taking on those difficult projects that nobody else wants to work on. All right, let's talk about my professional experience. I've been a teacher running classrooms. I've been a creative professional working with some world-renowned artists, but most recently I ran a business unit for an online automotive publication, a $25 million per year brand, managing budgets, setting strategy, and supporting my team, collaborating with automakers and more, as well as seeing the overall day-to-day operations of projects that spanned the globe. My success in the business world can be attributed to two main things: my exceptional ability to collaborate with people from a wide range of specialties, from interns to executives, and two, my ability to take complex information from all those different sources and relay it to others in plain language so that everyone can be on the same page and clear about what we're doing. Let's demystify this government, right? All right, my educational and professional experience have been instrumental in creating a leadership style that is rooted in empathy. There is no place for ego on a team that has lofty goals. I know great ideas come from everywhere, and so I like to be a leader that listens first and respects every voice in the room. A good leader needs to put the team's needs above their own, so a good city official will put the community's needs above their own. I've lived in Ferndale for nearly a decade. I met my wife here, and I'm now a stay-at-home dad. I spend my time taking care of and tending to my daughters, our dog, and our 2 cats, our home, and our yard, while supporting my wife as she runs her business. I come to you from the perspective of a single-income family, disillusioned by private equity and ready to take actions to make a better quality of life for my Ferndale family and yours. My volunteer work includes communications for the 2025 school bond, which passed by an overwhelming margin, PR work for the Red Cross, and cleanup efforts across our city, getting my hands dirty. I've helped Ferndale Youth Assistance and Care House with programming for kids and families, and I'm still just getting started. Running for and serving on council was not part of my plan, but it sure has been fun. It took some time. It took some of you seeing it in me first, but I can now confidently say not only can I do this, I can do it well. I am listening to you. I value your ideas. I like doing research. I'm good at sharing it with you. I love serving my community, and I won't stop. A few items I want to reiterate: my priorities of community, affordability, and trust, my desire to be available to you and amplify your voices. And I ask that you, when you're going to vote, who do you want having these tough conversations for you? Someone who says the problem is impossible, or someone who's already out there doing the work on these tough projects? I don't value being right, I value being effective. Striving to be right damages trust and rapport. Effectiveness is a creative and collaborative endeavor that focuses on the goal and the big picture. Thank you.
I won't need the full 5 minutes, Sharon. But as far as my leadership style, I will say over the course of the last 13 years, I'm an empathetic leader. I put myself in the shoes and the feet of you all because I'm one of you. I'm a single mom now. I've raised my children in this community. I'm not a grandmother yet, but I think it's going to come really soon. And I have always made it my mission to lead with authenticity and integrity. I'm an honest person. I'm going to tell you the truth. If it can't be done, it can't be done. I'm always going to be available to you for you to reach out to me. I like coming to you and talking about what's of concern to you and hearing your concerns. I make no promises, but I will try. I'll try darn hard. I will also tell you that I think it was mentioned, I just want to touch on some things that were mentioned earlier as far as homelessness. Someone mentioned that something I said didn't make sense, so I wanted to make it clear. Homelessness is an issue in this community, but it is privy to a lack of funding. I have talked to homeless people and have met with homeless people and have advocated for homeless people for, I can tell you, probably the last 9 years. It is something that is important to me. It is so important to me to work with adults with disabilities and seniors and to advocate for them in my role, not only as a council member for the past 8 years, but also as the mayor. I will always commit to doing that because I'm passionate about it. Someone also mentioned in the audience that they want you to know that the boards and commissions are open for anyone to attend. You do not have to be a commissioner or a board member. Please come to the meetings. Please come to council meetings and share your voice. I know that I'm running unopposed. That is the first time that has happened for me in the last 13 years. So I was shocked just probably as much as anyone else, let me tell you, because I'm used to having to really get out there and let you know who I am as a person and my vision and my voice. But I want you to know that running opposed is not a free card. I'm still going to be accountable to you, still going to be able to answer your questions, still going to be available to you. And with that being said, I hope to continue to be able to serve. I hope to be able to serve with the council and we're able to work together. Because this community means a great deal to me. I've raised my family here, and we've done so much good work from this point, and I plan to see us move forward and do a lot of more work as well. And I just want to thank the seniors. Seeing you out in the audience, and you just put on just the best forum, you asked the best questions, and I just want you to know that I'm committed to serving this community. I'm committing to make this a safe community for you. I'm committing to work with whoever I need to work with to make that happen. And call me up. Talk to me. Let's have a conversation on your porch. Let's have a conversation on the phone. I'm open to it, and I look forward to it. Here's to another couple years.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's give them all a hand, shall we? I want to thank the candidates for showing up and for doing such a good job. I know a lot of background and research goes into this, and I've been part of those midnight rehearsals for the forums. And I want to thank Dick for taking time, and Sharon, you were a great moderator. You made it more fun. I want to thank Katie and Frankie at the back for sorting out and taking care of the duplicate questions. I want to thank all of our seniors and people who aren't our seniors for showing up. And remember, if you're not one of our seniors and you're 55 or older, we meet twice a month, second and fourth Wednesday, unfortunately at the Hazel Park Community Center. And at 11 a.m. And I also want to say that Alicia is in the DDA office. And if you want your newsletter, if you want to renew or sign up for a trip, she's over there now. So, do I remember everything, Joyce? Okay. Thank you, everybody.